Hey there, YouTube. I just wanted to give you an update on what's going on with my legs and bike stuff. This is kind of a combo video. So, as you can see, I'm standing without any kind of cane or accessory or anything. I've been making rapid strides towards walking normally, and I've been developing muscles that I have probably never used in my life, or maybe were the size of strings. And I'm getting a lot of confidence in my legs at this point, in this part of the journey. The really interesting thing is, I had spent 6 months in physical therapy trying to figure out how to walk right, and they seemed to be convinced that it was, the thing to do, despite the fact that, I have this weird bone issue and I can't roll my feet. I spent 6 months trying to learn how to walk, and with professional guidance, and here I am. I've gotten off crutches full time, maybe about 3 weeks ago, and I started walking with like just a cane, and then now I'm walking without any assistance for about 90% of the time, unless maybe I'm tired or whatever. And I've taught myself how to walk. So I've done what physical therapy has told me that I should be doing to learn how to walk, and strengthen these muscles, and then eventually you'll start using them. No, I just did that on my own after the biomechanical issue is corrected. So it's a little frustrating that I spent all that time on that false lead, and I spent 7 years suffering without knowing the answer, and that some crazy theory that I came up with was totally correct. But you can learn how to walk again after a traumatic injury, and after the leg muscles atrophying on one side, given that you have the bones moving in the right way. So I'm really pleased, and I actually feel super grateful that I was able to have the surgery done, because I notice more and more as I watch how people walk, as I'm trying to teach myself what is the correct foot motion and angle and all this stuff. I noticed a lot of people that are disabled, or walking to a disabled car or have a cane or whatever, and they're shuffling. They almost always have bones that are twisted. Usually it's in their foot. Sometimes it's in their hip, and I can just tell now from watching so many physical therapy videos and videos about tibial torsion, femoral anteversion, things like that. And I just go, man, how many people have the same issue that I have, but they never got the attention. It's mind-blowing, and I want to scream at the top of my lungs about it, but probably it's not socially appropriate to tell somebody, hey, you're messed up, you need to get fixed. I'm just some stranger, so I don't. But I kind of make videos about stuff like this to maybe hopefully somebody on YouTube is watching and sees this stuff, because I'm walking, I'm jumping, my bone is fused, and the more I move, the more it fuses, the more I'm able to move. And it's I would call it a miracle, but it's really not. It's basic physics, and gravity, that that if you were to fix someone like this, they start walking fine and they hurt less. And I think that the most discouraging thing that happened early on is when I was just barely learning how to walk on both legs. I had the same hip pain that I had when I first started this whole journey, and I thought, oh shit, I haven't cured that. Like, I've spent all this money and invested all this time in fixing this one part, but I'm not done. Well, as I started walking better and better every single day, the pain has been going away. Like, there's like one little spot that hurts a little bit every once in a while, and it used to be that I was just constantly in pain. Like, and my foot was constantly in pain. I have no more foot pain. No more foot pain whatsoever. There was a period where I had to sort of retrain my foot on how to move, because when my foot was like this, as I was walking, it was kind of like, and then now that it's like this, it's sort of like dirt, dirt, dirt. So it's moving as it should, whereas it was kind of like diagonal, and like all that was just wearing at the ankle. So it really limited the amount of walking I could do. But then also my hip was screaming in terror, and I I only have like the hip part, which is interesting because I actually have a hip anteversion. So I need a second surgery to fully fix what's going on with my leg. I'm not 100%. I might not be able to run. I really want to. But I feel like a bazillion bucks compared. So I'm well on the way to healing, and I'm going to get this damn thing off my leg. Now, one of the things I'm doing to get this damn thing off my leg is I am trying to move as much as possible. So I took the motor off of my bicycle on purpose, and I stuck a motorcycle tire on it on purpose, so that I have the most difficult riding experience possible. And the crazy thing is, now that my feet are both in the correct biomechanical position, I am so much more powerful, despite the fact that this leg like never developed some of its muscles, and then it atrophied for 4 months. Like, I keep getting better and faster every time I ride my bike, and I'm just realizing like maybe there's like a champion cyclist in me that I just didn't know was there. You know, maybe it's possible, because every single time I get better. And when I rode this recumbent bike with bike tire one time, I was just killing people on Lycras, on Lycra cycles, you know, the road bikes and all that stuff. I was beating them up hills. I was almost beating them from a stoplight, although the recumbent's harder to get going. But it's like I could catch up after they would get that initial burst, and just pass them. And I just, oh man. But you know what? The bike tire fun ended within one ride. It was flat the second I came home after 10 miles. So, you know, that's just Utah. You know, that's Utah being Utah, and it's always been a problem for me. So it's probably going to be the only time I'm going to use a regular bike tire on anything except for this road bike that at some point I'm going to be building. Yeah, it's back to motorcycle tires, and I'm going to be riding without a motor for a couple of weeks now, because I want to build my bone up. Now, the whole reason for that is our bones and our muscles and our cartilage all responds to forces. When you don't put any load on it, you decay. And they find this in people that go into space, where there's no gravity and they're just floating around, they're never using their muscles. No matter how hard you try to pump on whatever it is that you're trying to get some muscle motion, you're losing bone density, you're losing bone, you might even lose bone thickness. Your joints start to turn into dust. Your muscles are fucking gone. So that's the opposite of doing that, builds all this stuff, right? Like, you can actually look at some studies of people that play tennis or any other kind of activity where you use one limb more than the other, or one side of the limb, and their wrist bone will actually be thicker in diameter than the other side. You know, and like from here to here, it's a little bit thicker. The bone is denser, and the cartilage is in a condition where it can handle that strain. So the cartilage is stronger, actually, and then the other side. So I'm taking the approach of, let's put a bunch of weight on it. Let's just keep hammering on it, because the sooner I get this thing off, the closer I am to just being able to walk freely without this, 10-pound metal device on my leg that threatens to infect me at all times. So you're going to see some cool e-bike stuff in the future, but not now. And thanks for hanging with me throughout this process. I've been suffering of serious pain for about 7 years now, and so every time you saw me building something or whatever, it was sort of awkwardly walking around in pain, and I'm just trying to live a normal life, but really I'm struggling on the inside. And now that I am not going to have this factor to the same degree until I get my hip fixed or my femur twisted into position, I'm going to try to live as normal of a life as I can and be as active as I can. But I do have some interesting e-bike and bike stuff to show you. So I have actually bought a 3-turn Leaf motor, 1 kilowatt rated motor. I plan to run it at about maybe 3,000 watts at the most. In a 20-inch wheel, it's going to be very powerful, so I don't need more than 3,000 watts. I really don't. This is a 3-turn, and it's just an absolutely insane winding. I made a mistake with this. Leaf didn't know what the speed of this motor would be when they sold it to me. So I got to be the guinea pig yet again. And when I spun it up, it did 1,035 RPM on 48.1 volts, which would make it something like 21 kV motor. It's nuts. So I think I'm gonna have to actually respoke it into a smaller wheel, because normally we'll try to do 50 miles per hour on this bike on 48 volts, which is just it's crazy. I don't need to be going that fast anyway. I need the torque because I live right on a 28% grade for starters, so even just getting up this hill and back into my house is difficult for any motor. I live next to gigantic mountains that take dozens of miles to scale, average 7 to 9% grade. I want to be able to go up those. So this motor is not exactly in the right size wheel or the right winding, but I'm going to make it work somehow. I have built an interesting little thing for the recumbent. It's a trunk. So let me get you a little closer shot here. So this trunk is this is a maybe $10 ammo case, and the reason I bought it is because it opens at the top. It also has a locking mechanism, so I can throw stuff in here and expect it to hopefully still be there after I, of course, lock my bike up. But yeah, I hold tools, spare tube, glasses, air pump. Stick two big water bottles in here, and so this is just enough for me to be able to sort of do these long rides that I like to do. Yeah, and then the rest of this construction, I'll take the camera out. This is just hardware store parts right here, and I've got some channel aluminum that I've drilled and things like that. So it's really nothing special. It's sturdy enough, it's stood the test of me bouncing around on streets and jumping off curbs and things like that on this extreme off-road mountain recumbent maybe. And so yeah, that's pretty cool. I've had to adjust the height of this with some spacers and whatnot, and the angle so that my fixator doesn't smack up against this right here, which has been a real difficulty in finding a proper handlebar position where I'm not smacking my leg up against that. But I can pedal this thing just fine. In fact, I turned out I didn't even need these pedal extender thingies that I bought. What I ended up doing is when I put them on, I would natively put my foot on the inside of this pedal anyway. So that was just a real waste of money. But I thought I needed. I didn't know any better. I just wanted to ride. It was worth the $20 or whatever it is I paid. So yeah, this is just going to be my ride for a while. It's still got the cycle analyst on it and everything, but eventually I'll plug a motor in and once my bones healed. But for now, this is a bone building bicycle. And then the other thing that I've got is got EM3 EV battery. It's a 23.8 amp hour rated battery and 14S. So this is about 1.2 kilowatt hours, which is enough for me to do some of the very long rides that I want to do. Especially if I build like a tail cone or like a front fairing to increase the aerodynamics to the point where this is at least as good as a full recumbent bike. So this is actually an adequate size battery. And the question is, how exactly am I going to mount this what is this, 15 pounds? This gigantic thing. I thought that perhaps mounting it like so would be a good idea. Sort of like as if it was like a rear rack. But I noticed that the weight balance of this bicycle starts to get really poor once you start doing that. So I'm looking for some kind of case that I can bolt onto here and just have this up against the seat, but also be supported somewhat by this so that it's not like tugging on me and bouncing. So I really want to orient it like this. I would like to have a case where I can hold the battery and then like a little side section where there's room for cargo. So I'm on the hunt for some kind of metal case that will be sturdy enough to carry my cargo and my battery as close to me as possible so that the weight is biased as forward as possible. Now you'll notice if you look at this bike, I bought sort of like an extra large. And the whole reason for that was to get my body weight as close to center. So I have this, I think this thing could probably accommodate like an 8-foot tall person, but I have the seat like jammed to the forward as much as possible so that my weight can hopefully, some of it can sit on the front wheel and not everything be loaded on the back wheel. Because I want the rear suspension to work even though I'm sticking a gigantic hub motor back there. So yeah, the whole plan is to just try to get it centered. I know the battery's not going to do well here. My legs would probably smack up against it if I mounted it here, and then it's obviously too large to fit there. But so really it's going to be on the back of the seat. And yeah. So that's what's going on with me for now. I'll have some interesting bike stuff in the future once I'm healed up and allow myself to enjoy the electric bicycle. But for now, it's pain and suffering. But, you know, actually, it's really fun. I'm a computer programmer for a living, so getting out of the house and being physically active is sort of rejuvenating compared to staring at a screen or a Linux command prompt, you know, all day long, where you just don't have this connection to anything that's real. When I can get out and get on my bike, it's just like, oh, yep, this is what life should be like. And the really interesting thing is, when a lot of people see somebody with a tailored spatial frame walking around, they always want to know what it is. So when I go ride my bike downtown here in Salt Lake City, if I'm at a stoplight, I'm almost guaranteed to have somebody go, "Hey, what happened to you?" And then it's social time. Like somebody's got to know the story. So it's actually it's not that bad. It's not so bad. But yeah. That's life for now. And hope you enjoyed the video. I will have interesting stuff in the future, and thanks for watching.